goodness.
The one of one is missing.
I knew something was up.
Pop, that's almost twice as much going for the same price.
I just freaking love that rated rookie logo.
Doing more buying.
Which one of these 5 quarterbacks has the worst set of pass catchers to throw the football to?
Guess how much I sniped this for an auction?
Number to 5, you dirty animal.
I'm telling you, these optic on-card autos are money.
Football cards collecting and investing. We are one day closer to the NFL draft. We'll talk some long-term investments. You see the thumbnail image with Trevor freaking Lawrence. But for now, Andy, the biggest thing that has changed as far as the NFL draft is concerned is Shedeur Sanders meeting with the Giants, Jalen Milroe getting steamed up, and Jackson Dart getting an invite to the actual NFL draft ceremony.
Gotta love these little hype boosts here just a couple weeks out from the draft. You could definitely see they're having a big impact on these guys' market as the talks increase, because Shedeur Sanders had gone through a little dip there, not participating in the combine, but now as I pulled up earlier, his card prices seem to be coming back up. Cam Ward is ahead of him in pricing, and so is Travis Hunter. And I'd love to talk about him a little bit as well. And we have some big news out of the Panini camp as well for these guys, which is huge for the overall market and landscape of football cards. But yeah, you're seeing these guys' prices starting to come back up now. Well, for Shedeur specifically, increasing now into the draft.
Was that a Jordan and TCB? And Andy, I'm going to go to you with the actual, because you normally get into like the football card minutia, but it was a big story that Shedeur and Travis Hunter, number one, they're getting their jerseys retired by Colorado. I think that's a little ridiculous with Shedeur, not so much Travis. But number two, they have signed with Panini. And most of the big name athletes, Andy, sign with Fanatics and Topps. We've seen it with Jaden. We've seen it with Caleb. We've also seen it previously with CJ Stroud and that draft class. So your thoughts on Shedeur and Travis doing that?
Yeah, this is a great balancing act in the market, because we've seen so many guys get these Fanatics exclusive deals. However, when their autos come out, they're not quite as valuable as the autos from the licensed Panini sets with the NFL license. When you can put those team logos, team trademarks on the card, those things hold more weight in the football card market. And we've seen that in the past couple years. And to see Panini signing exclusive deals with what I think is a generational player, and that's what the market is telling you with their dollars right now, because Travis Hunter's Bowman Chrome University first rookie cards are more expensive than Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders, telling you that they expect him to be a generational player as well. And for Panini to get an exclusive deal with him, this is awesome, man. I love this news for Panini, because it kind of it keeps their position in the market more solid moving forward.
Yeah, I just wish in a perfect world like we had in 2013, 2014, Topps and Panini could make licensed cards. But we live in a monopolistic society, so it's either all with one or all with the other, and it's just one of those things. But, I like it. Another thing that is just so interesting about Travis and Shedeur for NFL fans is everything they do is just slightly different than the norm. Okay, what they did at Colorado, very different from the norm, making them a relevant team after, only winning 2 games. Now, they weren't an unbelievably successful program, but they also get their jerseys retired, which is crazy. They also teamed up with the Shrine Bowl over the Senior Bowl. And I do think that's relevant because normally, like, Panini is a very active partner of the Senior Bowl. So that's why it kind of shocked me that they ended up going with Panini over the Shrine Bowl. I don't know if the Shrine Bowl has a thing with Panini either, but they always do things differently. So I'm interested to see what their auto market is going to look like in their actual pro uniform, but I just want everyone to know that. Andy, is there any other NFL draft story that you find to be fascinating? What I want to do is I want to share my screen here, Andy, right off the jump. These are the players that are getting the invite to the first round of the NFL draft. So you notice a lot of defensive guys mixed in here, a lot of offensive linemen in this mix as well. But you also have some skill guys, which is, our main focus. Only one running back, Ashton Genty, gets the invite. So first round draft capital is so important at the running back position. It really can change your outlook as a player. But Andy, like we've mentioned with Scatterbo and a few others, some of these draft running back prices have been ridiculous. And what could happen is a lot of teams could say, hey, there are so many good running backs after Ashton Genty. Maybe we can wait till the third or the fourth round. And Andy always point out that draft capital is important.
Yeah, I think that could likely happen. I mean, you got such a deep running back class this year. It's absolutely insane. The name that jumps off at me here is Matthew Golden. I know we talked about him last week because I just did yesterday on Twitter or X a comparison between Tatoria McMillan and Matthew Golden, and Tets are at $65 per, and Matthew Golden's are at $30. And this is the Bowman Chrome University first rookie auto, non-serial numbered. So you get a really good comparison of a apples for apples there. And he's just half. But yet we see him here on the first round draft night invites and at a valuable position, likely to land on a big market team. There's a high possibility he lands on a team like the Cowboys, a team with just a big market, big fan base, with a lot of potential buyers that can create a big splash, and he's only half the price. So that's what jumps out at me here. The other one, Carter, is your guy, Jalen Milroe.
Yeah, keep going. I'm interested in what you have to say about Jalen Milroe.
Well, I mean, it comes down to prices here. It comes down to prices and what you can get them for. But for example, when you have a rated prospect, Jalen Milroe, out of 149 that you can get for $70, I mean, this is a serial numbered card from a licensed set. This is a Prism Draft Picks. It's got that rated prospect logo. This is a card that, I mean, you have one ending today out of 25 that's ending an auction in 22 minutes. Sorry if I spoiled anybody's auction that they're trying to snipe at 22 minutes, but it's only at $123.71. It does have 19 bids, but on a guy like Shador or Cam or Travis or Ashton Genty or Tatera McMillan, you're going to see 30 to 40 to 50 bids on an auction like that right now, and you got less than half of that on this Jalen Milroe. So if he's getting a first round invite, there's a possibility he could go at the back end of the first round. I mean, that would be huge for his market. Obviously, a ton of room to go up based on these prices.
Yeah, I'm like, I'll say it again. I'm not a huge Milroe guy. On Power Hour SEC, this was my biggest call in the season, that he would eventually fall off, that he would have a good season, not a great season. And there was a lot of data to back that up with his limitations as a thrower. But physically, holy crap, arm strength, elite, speed, elite. It's just everything else. Decision-making, intermediate throws outside the hashes that rely on timing. It's all over the place. But some of these prices are tantalizing, and he gets invited to the NFL draft, which is fascinating to me. And the reason why I think that's relevant, Andy, is because the NFL draft said, look, we're tired of the awkward green room stuff. We're going to shrink the amount of people that we invite to the draft. They did the opposite. They said that they wanted about 10 players there. There's 17 people that got invited. So they have good info. Or they could be doing something that I've suggested as well, that the draft room sweats, while they are awkward, they're actually a good thing for ratings. Like the drafts that we remember, Aaron Rodgers falling, Johnny Manziel falling, Will Levis with his one of the most beautiful women I've ever seen, Gia Duddy, sitting in the green room, them sweating their lives away, waiting to be selected. There might be some of that at play, but still, it's something that Milroe got invited.
Yeah, and look, I'm gonna address Truth 77. Appreciate you tuning in today. I think he's new in the chat. I don't think I've seen that. He's got the all caps going, so he's very confident in his takes here that Tet is way better than Golden. Golden's overrated, and that may be the case. I mean, yeah, I've watched both of their highlights, and I do think overall, like a overall well-rounded player, Tet is better. But I'm looking to make profit on their cards, and Golden at his current price point is going to offer me a higher profit margin if he does get selected in the first round, or at the end of the first round on day one, which is what we're talking about here, and which is what I want. And that's when I think the next window is to flip them. And then after that, you could look at training camp. And if you look at historical data and the size of the market of these players by training camp, it's really not that much different from the draft. And the cards that are still hot on draft night are still going to be pretty liquid, pretty hot when we get to training camp. So that's when I would be looking to flip the Goldens, the Milroes, all those guys, either draft night or training camp. They're very speculative. I'm not hanging my hat on them like this is going to be a franchise player by any means.
I'm also not a big Golden guy, but I'm skeptical of the 4.29 that he ran, but he ran it, and NFL teams like that. And basically, I saw some of his Bowman Texas uniform cards. So not his first, but second year. First year in the Texas uniform, autos $20 at the door. And they weren't silver refractor autos, but I'll take that. That's a play for me and Matthew Golden. It's not that I think he's bad. It's just I don't think he's clear-cut wide receiver 1 or wide receiver 2 like what's shown here on basically this graph and pretty much everybody else's NFL draft boards. We also say hi to Pick Six Cards, Jerry, Filthy Hector. Pretty sad story. One of LSU's receivers passed away this weekend, Kyron Lacey, and it stinks. I see a lot of people talking about that. Andy, as far as NFL draft is concerned, one thing it's kind of under the radar are the tight ends. They don't have like a gazillion autos. Tyler Warren or Colston Loveland, neither got an invite, I believe. And now we'll see where they go. They both, to me, have Pro Bowl potential at the tight end position.
Yeah, I think the tight end market's very interesting. Yeah, a lot of it is plays on the fact like how productive they can be early on in their careers. Like if you look at a guy like Kyle Pitts. I mean, even Kyle Pitts to this day, even though he's pretty much like had a decline in production, and you could say it's based on coaching, personnel, opportunity, injuries. There's 4 or 5 reasons you could blame, but even so, going back to his rookie year and his draft hype, he still has really solid prices on his more rare cards. So I look at these first round tight ends as a serious investment. And when they do get that production early on in their career, people really will hang their hats on those guys and sink quite a bit of money in. So if you can find those guys at value compared to the wide receivers, that makes a lot of sense to buy into them as well, in the intent to flip them down the road.
Now, the reason why I bring up Tyler Warren is interesting. The only autos he has on cards are I know, Andy, these frustrate you. The wild cards. I know that's not your favorite set. It's not my favorite set either, but they have some ridiculously fun inserts with like dinosaurs on it, and it makes it rare. If you're a Tyler Warren fan, at the what top 10 fan base, and then look, you got that punt, pass, and kick card, Tyler Warren. He's so interesting.
Yeah, there's not a lot of cards for him, as you can see. I mean, he's got some cards from when he was very young here. The punt, pass, and kick. 317 total cards is very low. So you can come in here on tradingcarddatabase.com and you can see a lot of these on its, wild cards, these unlicensed cards. So what you're targeting there is very low serial numbered cards with autographs. That's really what you're after, because you want something that kind of ties it back to the player because it is unlicensed. So, and that is usually going to be an autograph.
Don says he's been buying up Mason Taylor. I like that, Don. I like your taste, man. You got flavor. I love it. But yeah, look, Colston Loveland. That is so interesting. 1420 cards compared to 38 of Tyler Warren. That is so fascinating.
Yeah, a lot of times I think it's an NIL deal. It's like which guys got
Right.
approached by Fanatics, or Panini to sign cards, or Leaf on it. You name, one of these companies to sign cards. Obviously, they pay these players to sign these cards. So, I think Colston playing for Michigan has had a better chance at signing cards. So clearly, he has a lot more cards.
Yeah, well, it's also he won a natty. He played on that natty team. And Andy, Tyler Warren has sat behind so many great Penn State tight ends who have been drafted recently, including your guy, the speedster, Theo Johnson of the New York Giants. So it's also fascinating that Colston Loveland has actually jumped Tyler Warren in the tight end rankings. So it's very fascinating to say the least. Now, Andy, Trevor Lawrence is on the thumbnail image. We've been talking. We've actually talked quite a bit about Lamar and Josh, and how similar yet different their football card prices and overall market is. So I'm interested, when you think long-term investment, where are you trying to go with that, my man?
Yeah, so long-term investment, and a lot of the guys we talked about to this point have no NFL experience at all. So it's completely speculative. So you gotta, if you're gonna have like a well-balanced portfolio, something that's more stable of a market, then you want to look at guys that have established card markets. And I think it's really important to go look at guys like Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, even guys like Trevor Lawrence. And so what I've done is I've looked at a lot of former number one overall picks that have established card markets that aren't seeing this gold rush for grading their cards, aren't seeing these immediate events that could drive a ton of speculation. When you have higher values typically on cards, when it's consistent, then you're going to have a more serious buyer, which is going to equal a more stable market, as long as you can have a repetitive transaction. So it is tough to look at 2018 Silver Prism because of the scarcity. We've looked at how rare Josh Allen's is, just a handful of those PSA 10s, and they're selling for over $4,000. Lamar Jackson selling for over $1,000. Baker Mayfield only has 15 Silver Prism PSA 10s. It's an incredibly rare card from 2018. So when you get to certain years, you have to kind of branch outside of that. Maybe look at the rookie ticket autos. Maybe look at the optic hollows, look at some different cards. Still, I would try and compare them in a PSA 10 condition, like the data we're pulling in through slabhawk.com. It gives you a really good idea of where they are at historically compared to their career values.
Your thoughts on Trevor?
Well, so Trevor's an interesting market. You can see over the past 6 months, he's down 8%, but his
Yeah.
Silver Prism PSA 10 is still holding strong. Now, if you were to compare him to Joe Burrow just the year prior, Joe Burrow's still a average of $1,400 for his Silver Prism PSA 10. And if you click into Joe Burrow, he's got a population of 282 on his Silver Prism PSA 10 at a grade rate of 19%. And then we click into Trevor Lawrence, and he's got a population of just 136 with a grade rate of 8%. So this is what I'm talking about, targeting more serious buyers, like a person that's going to buy this card, regardless if it's Trevor Lawrence or Baker Mayfield or Kyler Murray here. Trevor Lawrence is a former #1 overall pick. He's still a starting quarterback in the NFL. He's still got future upside. There's a lot of future events coming up in his career that are going to enable him to generate hype in the market. And this card has a very stable market because the people buying it are very serious and they know what they're doing. And that's why you can see this card is still holding very strong at this $575 price. And you can see how it's gone down from when it was back whenever it was incredibly rare and Trevor's market was totally different. You can see how much it's gone down, which is why I think that it's a safer investment right now because of the current price, the scarcity, the caliber of player overall, the draft capital, and his current career, I guess you could say, like the current position in his career. This makes it a very stable, safe investment because even if you look
safe. Andy, that word can be dangerous.
Well, there's been 23 sales in the past year on a card that just has a population of 136. So I think a lot of people are trying to move Trevor Lawrence right now, and you're getting a significant discount from where he's been historically. And there's a lot of future events coming up for you to make money on a card this stable, this rare. This is a very, it's not as liquid because it doesn't have as many transactions as a base donors rated rookie PSA 10 or even a rookie ticket auto Trevor Lawrence because those are more common. I mean, this is a legit rare card.
Yeah, I really do like Trevor's situation. You know, Brian Thomas could be a Justin Jefferson type of player. Some dynasty guys have him as like their number 5 receiver, which is crazy. And then you factor in the running back room, Liam Cohen, some new analytical minds, Gladstone, their new GM. There's actually quite a few people that are talking themselves into the Jaguars. You know, Travon Walker hitting his prime, another number 1 overall pick who started off not so great when it comes to his career trajectory, double-digit sacks. And a lot of people are into the Jaguars, but I don't know.
So price aside, Carter, who are you more bullish on in 2025, Trevor Lawrence or Bryce Young?
Price aside?
Yeah, let's just say they were the same price.
I would probably still lean Trevor, even though I like Bryce better personally in terms of like the players themselves. But as someone that has more Bryce Young cards right now than Trevor Lawrence, I hope Bryce continues what he was doing at the end of last season. What say you?
So this is where Slabhawk is very powerful in finding, the right target, because when you go and pull up Bryce Young and you compare with Trevor Lawrence here, you see that the trend on Bryce Young's Silver Prism PSA 10 is just $211, and it's up 46% in the past 6 months.
Crazy.
But when we go in and look at why, we get a better understanding when we click into that. You can see, well, there's a population of 1,500, and he's had 359 sales in the past year. And the grade rate on this card compared to Trevor Lawrence, the grade rate on Bryce Young's Silver Prism is 49%. That means 49% of the time the raw card's becoming a PSA 10. That's insanely high, man.
I've shared my thoughts on the whole grading thing. And if you want to see something crazy, go to our Patreon, patreon.com/football cards. This guy did this experiment with regrading some Jane Daniels downtowns. And Andy, I think you saw this. One was an 8, 2 were 7s, and he graded them all up, cracked and resubbed, and they all came back 10s. So it is wild to think, and I understand it's different draft seasons, and there was a lot of people complaining about the 2021 print quality, so it could just be that. But one card having a pop of 150 and the other having a pop of 1,500, it's just absurd. I just don't believe that. I'm sorry.
Yes, it's a big it's a huge difference, man, and it changes a lot about the market too. You could argue clearly that based on the price, the Bryce Young is definitely a buy, but there's a reason why he's so much lower than Trevor Lawrence. You could also argue that if Bryce had this 15% grade rate on his raw to PSA 10, that his cards would be $550 as well. So let's take a look at CJ Stroud real quick. And you see, well, once again, I mean, Panini really did a good job apparently on the Silver Prism from 2023, because CJ Stroud's got a 39% grade rate on his Silver Prism PSA 10, and he's cheaper than Trevor Lawrence. And if you ask me, I'd be more excited to buy into CJ Stroud than Trevor or Bryce Young, to be honest with you.
It is interesting, and you guys know I'm a Jaden guy through and through. But the way we talked about Jaden Daniels is the same way we talked about CJ Stroud this past year. So it is interesting. CJ's OC is out. There was a lot of people, Andy, complaining about Bobby Slowick. There was also a lot of people behind the scenes complaining about Laramie Tunsil. So it is interesting. You throw in Christian Kirk with Nico Collins. I agree with you. I think CJ is an interesting buy right now. And one thing CJ has going for him, weak division. A lot of those teams in that division trying to figure out who they are. So we'll see what happens. Hector wants to talk about Kyler, Andy.
Oh yeah, Kyler's a great buy in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, just go look at his numbers. I mean, the guy, once again, we got former number 1 overall pick. You know, you got former Heisman Trophy winner. You also got a guy that has already gotten off to 3-0 starts in his career and seen his cards skyrocket in value. He's also got a somewhat of a scarce market from 2019. I say that because if you compare it to 2020 or more current, the print runs, the number of parallels, everything increases, the variety increases. So when you go back 2019 before the modern day boom here, you really start to get more of that 2018, 2017 scarcity that we like. I mean, and you look, he's only got a pop of 198 on his Silver Prism, 34%. So solid grade rate, which gives me hope for collecting raw 2019 Silver Prism cards. And you look at that and you're like, wow, man, he's cheaper than all those younger guys. And he's had those 3-0 starts. The guy is electric whenever he's out there. He has the ability to break off plays that they'll put in commercials for years to come, you know, and it's a kind of mind blowing that he's this cheap. I actually wrote him up because I think he's one of the best quarterbacks to buy into in terms of he's got the established merit and he's also got the scarcity and the prices that you want to see.
Let's go to Hector. He follows up. He says, Murray at least has elite speed. Bryce doesn't have that same speed. I do agree with that. And Kyler has a far better arm than Bryce. Emo cards, welcome. Let's see, Dominic. True 77. You got to calm down, bro.
Are we gonna have to put True 77 in timeout or ban?
Put him in a timeout. I can't put you in timeout. So, but it's me telling Andy to do it. So True 77, if you got a problem, come holler at your boy. Huh?
Oh, I accidentally might have banned him. I didn't mean to ban him or remove his
I've done that.
I just meant to put him in timeout.
As someone that has to deal with far more toxic commenters than Andy on the normal. And there's True 77 glitching your matrix. That was him.
Oh, good Lord. Hopefully he's not a hacker.
Yeah. I think it was him. With a name like True 77, that does sound like kind of hacky. Like, we are the truth.
It sounds very conspiracy theorist.
Right. I would say out of Filthy, we say out of Jerry. Oh, look, the day one of all day ones, Family Burliner is in the chat right now.
What up?
What up, FB?
I love this time of year.
Andy, I do find, to CJ Stroud's point, it is kind of crazy though. Like Jamar Chase had the season that he had, and I've said it plenty of times. Jamar Chase is arguably the best wide receiver I've ever seen play football. All right. I'm not saying he's the best of all time. That'll be Jerry Rice and Randy Moss. But it is something that Nico Collins was outproducing everyone before he got hurt. And now Diggs is out. Christian Kirk is his main target competition. Tank Dell coming back from injury. Dalton Schultz is a traffic cone. Man, I could see, I know you said what you said about Terry McLaurin. Dude, Nico Collins still made the Pro Bowl. That's how good of a season he had. He still got in that loaded AFC Pro Bowl picture. Then he's special. He is just freaking special. I didn't see it coming out of Michigan, but man, he is. I thought he was going to be decent. I didn't think he would be like top 5 wide receiver in the NFL.
Yeah, I didn't either. And he was one of those guys we luckily were in on early because some of the expert analysis was that he was misused and misdeployed in Michigan. And he had that size, speed combined with a work ethic, right? He's really needed at the wide receiver position to fine tune your craft and route running. So yeah, Nico was a really fun one that I know a lot of us made good money on because we were in on him very early. And you look here using the players tab here on Slabhawk, we're able to see like people are still grading him and buying him on a daily basis. Not too far behind CeeDee Lamb, and Nico being a 2021 rookie and with lower draft capital doesn't quite have the same print run and supply that some of these other guys have. So you look here and compare him to CeeDee Lamb, and these guys are neck and neck on the hype index. And Nico Collins, 2,899 different rookie cards compared to CeeDee Lamb's 3,900. Nico Collins had 20 cards added to the PSA database in the past 7 days versus CeeDee Lamb's 25.
Crazy.
And then Nico Collins had 50 buy it now sold in the past day compared to CeeDee Lamb's 61. Very, very close here, man. And you can see Jaden Reed right there, we have a little bit higher as an interesting comparison as well from 2023.
All right. Andy, I wanted to save my spiciest take for Hobby Tip of the Week. We have reached that portion of the show. I wanted to get my Nico Collins. That was actually going to be my play of the week because I just think he's really that good. And CJ is the apps like CJ, Stroud, those types of precision pocket QBs that know who their dudes are. Those are the best quarterbacks to play alongside, basically, when it comes to a wide receiver. Whereas if you're a wide receiver with Josh Allen, Josh is just going to do Josh things. All right. Same thing with Mahomes. But Nico is just with the perfect quarterback for his skill set in CJ. Okay. Hobby tip of the week. Andy, do you know what the Masters is?
Now that I have heard of. I was trying to think of a joke right then, but because of my lack of following other sports, but I did. I was over at a friend's house on Sunday morning watching the Masters.
Okay.
I used to watch the Masters like Thursday through Sunday back before I had kids and stuff. But yeah.
All right. I think one of my favorite things about the Masters, I didn't really watch. I'm in a group chat I'm the only only non-golfer in my 14 friend group chat. They freaking love the Masters. It's gotten bigger, even without Tiger. I mean, I mean, obviously the Tiger ratings will always win out, but it's way bigger than what you would think it would be. But no Tiger Woods involved, who's a completely different thing. And one of the big thing about the Masters and the ambiance is like there's not a whole lot of logos. Manny, did you know you aren't allowed to bring in a cell phone to the Masters?
You have to put it in some kind of bag, right?
Yeah, you can't.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to take photos on the course. And I think what would be fun is a sports card show. So this isn't quite a hobby tip of the week, but a hobby suggestion of the week. A sports card show where you can't use your phone.
That would be cool. That would be pretty cool because you get a lot more like you get a lot more variance in the offers and the prices that you could potentially get. And I mean, that would be very interesting, very compelling. Like, I think somebody should pick that idea up and run with it.
Okay. And I think both the dealers and the buyers would want that. So you don't have comp police and all of that. And you would really have to prep and go in knowing what you need to know about the prices. You have to go get those old school Beckett phone books to bring in there. But I don't know how many people would be willing to do that, or if they're obviously this would need to happen in like a big city, a big market. But it would be fun if like the Dallas Card Show had said one day, hey, you are not allowed to bring any phone, or you're allowed to bring your phone, but you can't do the concert. Even then, there's ways around that. But yeah, and I know it would just lead to people going in and then leaving and getting the comp and then coming right back. But still, I think I would love to do a show where there's no comp police. There we go. And we're getting a few super chats firing in here. Look at that. Thank you so much, Jerry. You get to pick the next topic. And before we get to Andy's hobby tip of the week, Space 99 Yak says, oh, are you a Saints expert? Oh, you better believe it. I host a Saints podcast on the Believe Network. Shout out to Eric and the team over there. He said he made an impulse buy of Isaiah Foskey, 1/1 Raw Prism, and PSA 10s are the 5 gold vinyl 10 gold vinyl Foskey for $300. He a bust or develop. So you got this whole lot, Andy, for $300. Okay. 1/1, a PSA 10 is numbered to 5, gold vinyl numbered to 10, Foskey for $300. I think, Andy, just based on the rarity of these cards, if you're a fan of this guy, that's actually a really, really good deal.
Yeah, I mean, just from the scarcity alone, because we talked about it, if you've got the 1/1, the gold, I mean, that's like 90+% of the collection.
Yeah.
It's got the out of 5 too. I mean, that just based on the scarcity of those cards alone for 300, that's a solid deal.
Yeah, and Space 99 Yak, obviously you're a fan of his. You might just be a fan of the Saints, so you might not care. But he's just not good. He's not a good football player. And sometimes that happens if you take second-round ends. And the Saints obviously have had their issues drafting in players in the first couple of rounds, as Davenport wasn't all that great either. So, yeah. But they did give Chase Young a lot of money this offseason. So we'll see how that plays out. Let's go to Jerry's Super Chat.
Jerry.
Okay. So Space 99 Yak says, I know nothing about him, just bought him because of the scarcity. I like it. There's going to be some Foskey collectors out there. He played in Notre Dame. So, yeah, there's going to be some people out there collecting Foskey. So I think you're fine. Jerry says with the Super Chat, do you think Carson Wentz will get a chance to start with a weak quarterback class, Andy?
It's possible. Yeah, I mean, you look at the age production curve of quarterbacks. I mean, Carson Wentz has still got starting opportunities in his, in his range of outcomes. The thing is, the older he gets, the more he's going to have to do to generate that same type of hype. It's interesting, Carter. We may get, as I'm saying this, I'm thinking we may get some hype from an initial start from Carson Wentz based on how low the current prices are and the fact that he hasn't played in so long now. It's almost like a lot of people forgot about him. And so maybe if he gets an electric start, like a Mike White kind of start, saves the day, big game, and with a big team, or I don't know, somewhere at least, and gets a win, maybe we could see some people making some money on Carson Wentz.
Yeah, I just checked. He's not on a team yet, not with the Chiefs. So anyone going to start there anyway. Played that one start. Stats were terrible. You can go see my film study from the game. I break down every Chiefs game. He had no shot. And the Chiefs rested everybody, literally everybody. And the Broncos were in a must-win at home. Here's my thing. First thing, I'll share a Broncos thought here in a second. Carson Wentz, at 32 years of age, should get another chance with another team. You do have to worry about a Tannehill situation where no one wants to bring in damaged goods or whatever. But I'm still a believer in Carson Wentz in that he was at one time the NFL MVP before he got hurt that one season. So in the right situation, sure. But I don't know, because we're always backup QB hunting here. But, we'll see what happens. But I do have a Chiefs take. It's okay if I give a Chiefs take before we get
Chiefs take.
A Chiefs take.
All right. Yeah. We got to hear this.
Okay. Andy, the Broncos are a top 3 roster in the NFL right now. Like, they are so unfreaking believably loaded. I mean, they've top elite corner room, unbelievable defensive line, unbelievable offensive line. Andy, did you know that when it comes to pass rush win rate, run block win rate, pass protection win rate, and run block win rate, the only 2 teams in the top 10 last year in all 4 of those categories were the Eagles and the Denver Broncos. All right. So they're very interesting to me. And I think they have legit Super Bowl potential next year with Sean Payton, who's my favorite football coach of all time. And I really don't know what the Chiefs' plan has been. Joe Thuney out the door, big piece, who saved their season basically up until the Eagles abused him. But I look at that, the Raiders, huge quarterback upgrade there, and then you have Herbie and the Chargers. This is going to be the most I am doubting the Chiefs I have ever been. But I'm not going to say the Chiefs are going to miss the playoffs. I'm not going to say that. But I don't think they win the division next year, Andy. I'll say it. I don't think they win it.
Ooh, I like that bold take. I mean, their markets are down over the past 6 months. Patrick Mahomes' market, which is historically over the past 5 years been one of the most stable markets and one that a lot of people have invested into. Same thing with Travis Kelce. And you can see their markets are down. I mean, Silver Prism, PSA 10 Mahomes down 18%. The base downers down 14%. Same thing with the optic. And then Travis Kelce's down even more. Look at his base prism PSA 10 down 28% over the past 6 months, as his performance really seemed to drop off this past year. And that's the thing. I like a lot of future event markers that offer the ability to generate the level of hype. And now at this point, for Kelce, at least, it's going to be like, that big prime time performances in big games, specifically in the playoffs and Super Bowl. That if that doesn't happen this year, he possibly retires, and then the market really does flatline for him, and you're not making any more money. So from a long-term investment standpoint, I'm out on him.
Yes.
I would be interested in Mahomes, though, if he continues to dip here.
I have been paying attention to some of Patrick's prices. I did find it interesting. I haven't looked at Slab Hulk, but I've been paying attention to that rated rookie, 2017. Scroll to the top left corner. Okay, $1,000 for the refractor,
Optic.
but
Yeah. Or even the base donruss is 1,000.
yeah.
Yeah.
That I mean,
So look at the 2 year. I mean, very stable.
very, very stable.
428 sales. Very stable market. A lot of transactions. People that buy this card for $1,000 are serious buyers, and
Right.
so that's what tells you the market is stable. That's what oftentimes allows you to get in and out easier because you have these serious buyers. But when we look at it over 2 years, there really hasn't been that significant of a change. You can see where it's really dropped off and then really kind of spiked up here this last Super Bowl. Got up to $1,500 in a buy it now, and it's now down to 910. But I don't think it's down low enough from where I'd like to get it,
Right.
because you go back to like that December time frame. This early December, late November time frame is probably the best time to buy Mahomes. Or if he misses the playoffs, then look, I mean, you've got a really, really good spot. You could buy him for, I think, lower than. I mean, you could probably get it as low as 500 if they're getting beat by the Chargers and the Broncos and they're struggling in their division this year, and something happens where they either miss the playoffs or get a wild card and get knocked out. I mean, shoot, we could see this card get to 500, and at that point, it's like, yeah, you got to buy. You got to buy. You got to get an exposure to it.
Yeah, and Andy's still the best coach in that division, and I'm not a
Yeah.
big Pete Carroll guy, but man, all four of those coaches are freaking like Hall of Fame, all-time legendary coaches. I mean, and it's not just that. I mean, there are just so many special players individually. Like, I mean, our chat's going crazy over some Brock Bowers chatter right now, and Max Crosby. I mean, it's just a loaded division. So I'm interested in what the Chiefs are going to do this draft cycle. But but since we're on the topic, people wanting to talk Bowers, I do want to bring this up one more time. Ryan Wheezy Baby says if the referees are involved, they're not missing the playoffs. But before we go to Bowers, Hector says, do you think, Andy, Mahomes cards are vastly overpriced now?
Well, I think that they're still overpriced compared to what they will be. And because I kind of like your prediction, it makes a lot of sense to me logically. So I do think they're overpriced right now compared to what they will be in probably about 7-8 months. So, it's yeah, I think, but like historically, they're not overpriced compared to where he's been at. But I do think they're overpriced trying to anticipate what's going to happen this season.
All right, Andy, let's talk about Brock Bowers.
I love to look at his chart because for a Silver Prism PSA 10, because you got some really good prices. I mean, you go and like we were just talking about a few guys like Bryce Young and stuff, and you look at Brock Bowers Silver Prism PSA 10 with a population of 90, 28% grade rate on raw to PSA 10, and 16 sales with an average of $350. But the reason why I like to look at this is because this is a recently released set. Yeah. And it's always fun to look at when the cards first came out and they were super scarce, and whoever, ripped that out of a pack first and super expressed it to PSA and got that back at 10. I mean, they really cashed in because the card was so hot. It was so new. Brock Bowers had this historic rookie season as a tight end with a bad team, bad quarterback situation. And already shown he's quarterback proof and he's going to be an elite tight end in the league. And you look at how expensive that card is. And since then, it's cooled off here to $250. And people like investing in him. I like Brock Bowers. I think he's a pretty solid investment.
This is why I like Hector a lot too. Silvers are color match for Raiders cards. I never thought about that.
That's a good point.
That is absolutely brilliant. Let's go to our super chatter again. Jerry, Andy, is in on the Rams going into next year.
Yeah, that's an interesting play. You could argue that Devante Adams is a buy because of how scarce his cards are from 2014. And he's actually, I would say, pretty low, significantly lower than Mike Evans on average. And I think Devante Adams has similar upside this year as Mike Evans. So I would be very interested. And also Devante, like when you look at his graded market, there is a definitely a push to get his PSA 10s because it's a low conversion rate as well. And especially on the rookie ticket autos, those are very low conversion rate because of the thin paper they printed them on. A lot of those, and Devante Adams doesn't have nearly the market that Mike Evans has. So when you find prices lower, and then you kind of multiply that by the scarcity, you're like, all right, yeah, I'm actually really interested in this, especially being paired with Matt Stafford as his quarterback.
All right, Andy, hobby tip of the week.
Well, so my hobby tip is really going to coincide with what we were talking about. You know, the finding more serious buyers by buying into more serious cards, and that goes into the skill position players as well. However, it kind of changed a little bit. I mean, you could still buy their Silver Prism PSA 10s. Like I was looking at Nico Collins, for example. He still has a very low grade rate. There's still a very low conversion rate on a Silver Prism. They still sell for over $100. And look, and that's gone up, Carter.
That is such a good play. I mean, that is so sexy. It really is sexy.
Yeah, it's only a pop of 21. So he's got the same raw to PSA 10 conversion rate on that card as Trevor Lawrence. And it's just a fraction of the price. He's got a lot of upside there. So this you could look at this card as the serious card for Nico Collins, but you could also go and look at like his optic contenders, his national treasures, his flawless rookie autos. And if you're getting those, add value compared to the rest of the draft class and guys around him, like CeeDee Lamb, then you can really paint a picture of the upside for Nico Collins there.
Hey, will you pull up Jamar Chase? I'm interested to see what his pop count is for his PSA 10.
Jamar Chase got a lot more sold transactions on him in the past 6 months than Nico. As you can see, he's kind of dominating that headline there at the top. You got percentage increases up.
Wow, look at that, dude. Look at that pop count, bro.
I know, it's crazy. 452 and the grade rate 40%. So
compared to Nico Collins, that's insane. That's what I'm saying.
It's not true across the board.
Yeah, I've been Nico pilled, man. And Andy, like Jamar Chase is one of the best football players I've ever watched play football. Any position. Okay. 452 pop. And what was Nico's 21?
Yeah, it was let's just go back real quick.
21 total.
Click into it. Yeah, 21. 18% hit rate. So it would be interesting. Now, I think there's a good opportunity there for you to pre-grade. Pre-grading is so important. And it's not that hard. You don't need a magnifying glass. I'll let this be another hobby tip. You don't need a magnifying glass to pre-grade, Carter. What you do, you start at the corners. You make sure there's no whitening, no chipping, nothing chipped on the corner. Make sure the corners are sharp. If it's a chrome finished card, make sure that chrome goes all the way to the edge on the sides, top, bottom, and the corners. And then you work your way in. You look at the centering, front and back, see if the centering's good, left to right and top to bottom. And then you hold the card at different light angles and see if there's any scratches or any indentations on the card anywhere. See if there's any surface imperfections. And then if you can check all those boxes, you can't see anything with the naked eye, there's a good chance you're going to get a PSA 10.
Yeah.
But to find a card on eBay that checks all those boxes based on the pictures is fairly low. Like it's tough. It's fairly low. But pre-grade your card and you can find PSA 10s. Like I've had very good success submitting to PSA. and getting 10s back and doing that exact process. Never use a magnifying glass, just decent lighting, and spending about 2 minutes per card, working your way from the corners and the edges inward and looking at it at all different angles.
And I want you to think plausibly about it as well. PSA is backlogged from now until Godfather 7 comes out. I mean, like, they are backlogged at all times, it seems. Do you really think they, like, gazillion, bajillion, quadruple check their grades at this juncture? No, they're printing money. They're the monopoly. Send those bitches in.
It's subjective, just
Yeah.
like if you go and watch my grading tour of the CGC facilities that I did with Paul Hickey last year. It is subjective, but what they do is they send these guys, they're graders, to a school. They're trained. They start them out with easier cards and they work their way up. Like there's graders in there that get the more rare cards. So it's a subjective thing. And there's graders that focus specifically on football, so they know what to look for because there's certain, defects and issues set to set that they take into consideration when giving a grade. At least they do at CGC, and I would think it's similar at PSA because those, them with BGS, they're the big three now, and they probably all have a similar kind of process where they send the guys to a school to all train them in the same way so that they can, be as consistent as possible. But they're still going to have guys that focus specifically on football, specifically on baseball, basketball, Pokemon, etc.
And if it is a 4-month wait for bulk, it could very well be longer, especially if you're not going through like a popular group submitter like Andy. You're good luck. So if you're on the fence about sending some football cards in, I would just go ahead and do it. And like Ryan said, I would only grade certain sets unless it is a rare obsidian white etch 1 of 1 or something super rare from Prestige or any of these other sets. I just don't.
Well, yeah, because then the card becomes more valuable. People are looking for that card and the player on it more so than they are the grade. And that's why I like, especially in these speculating on like these second-year wide receivers, on the third-year guys like Marvin Mims. We talked about him last week, so throw him out there again. I'd be looking for the national treasures, the flawless, the out of fives, the snake skins, the stuff like that. Add value because I know these are super popular cards that people look for, and serious buyers are going to want this card. And there's a serious market for the Denver Broncos, and he could get caught up. Like part of our hype score is the team success. So once you get a player that gets caught up in that team success, go and look at the guys that get signed by the Chiefs that they pick up year to year, the DeAndre Hopkins, the Marquise Browns, the sleepers like Isaiah Pacheco. They explode in value because they get caught up in the team success. They get a little bit of production on their own. All of a sudden, people go crazy for those cards. Those good cards. The serious buyers do.
Go to PSA drop-offs at shows. Yes, that does help out.
Yeah, that's a great tip.
Young Gun or Jay Young Gun says he's been waiting 2 months for his 26 cards at PSA. Dominic, same thing. 17 cards have been there since February.
I mean, that's about typical. If you want a fast turnaround time and still get a pretty solid, resale value, go with CGC. I mean, they cut out all the middlemen. They're like their own zip code postal, and I'm not even sponsored by them anymore. So I don't have affiliation, but their resale values are solid. You're not going to get the full PSA 10, but you're going to compete, and people respect that company as they're not a fly by night. They're like backed by the largest coin and paper money grading companies in the world. So it's like it's a very respectable and recognized company, and your turnaround times are going to be really good. So
and CGC and SGC were open for business. And I know PSA is like, well, why would we need to do anything with them? They're like the Apple of the grading world. But SGC, CGC, I follow SGC religiously. I've always liked the black tuxedo subs. I know some people don't like it, but I think it makes the card pop. I really do.
Shout out to Jonathan over in the UK. I love Jonathan. He's always hit me up in Discord and stuff. He says Beckett's in Europe now, but they're expensive.
That makes sense.
But that's cool to see them in Europe. Like I hear Beckett's doing a lot of stuff. I mean, I don't know. I actually want to look into them more. This was a tweet I posted earlier today about Travis Hunter's rookie cards. So I posted earlier today that Travis Hunter's rookie autos, and this was a PSA 10 non-serial numbered, selling $600 in a buy it now. It's more than Shedeur Sanders, more than Cam Ward by, about $150-200. And the crazy thing is, I find a ton of Travis Hunter autograph cards. So he's been very charitable with his autograph. And then my guy Gaby Carstacks, really fun channel to follow. This guy is super consistent, puts out content all the time. He said per Beckett, the unique auto count for Cam Ward is 2,038, and Travis Hunter, it's 1,862. And Ward has been signing since he was at Incarnate Word. I'm not sure exactly what that. I think that's with a specific brand there. Multiple years of Bowman.
Incarnate Word is a school.
Oh, okay. I mean, that's
yeah. Keep going. Like? I'll explain it later. Keep going.
Okay. So multiple years of Bowman, Leaf, Onyx, wildcard signings for Cameron Ward. And it's crazy. He said it's crazy that Travis Hunter has almost caught up signing with just 1.5 years of releases. So it's very similar amount of unique autographs out there, which are both going to be significantly higher than Shedeur Sanders. But it's interesting to me that he pulled this information from Beckett as well. So I want to look into more where he pulled this from, because I'm very interested in these stats, because that tells you a lot about the supply of their market and how much they could be going for if other things line up,
Yeah. So Incarnate Word was the school that he went to at first, because he was a 0-star recruit, like literally off the radar. So, you hear these stories of like Patrick Mahomes was a 3-star recruit. Well, he was really a 4. If the way they grade prospects now, he would have been a 4-star recruit. Baker Mayfield was kind of a 3-star fringe recruit. But Cam Ward was really just way, way, way off the radar. So that's why you have to go to Incarnate Word. And then, his career ballooned after that, going to Washington State and then Miami, of course. But yes, it's you could know a lot about football. 90% of people don't know what Incarnate Word is. And I'll be honest, I work in college football. I don't know what state Incarnate Word is in. I really don't. Maybe someone in the chat can educate us. Andy, I've already given my play of the week. It is Nico Collins.
Yeah. All right. So I got the play of the week. This is actually a sleeper draft pick that Mike Garafolo, of all people, and his recent mock has projected this guy to go early on day 2. And he's a wide receiver that I had not thought of. But once I looked into him more, I'm like, this is actually very interesting. So let me share it here, share my screen. 1 second. All right. I'm going to share this player with you. Kyle Williams out of Washington State, who had a 440 40-yard dash, 93rd percentile. And you look, I mean, like, he checks the box of the breakout age, solid college dominator, 22.7. So he's a little bit older than I think your typical prospect, but he still broke out young. So I'm very intrigued by this player. 5'11", 190, best comparable to Rashad Bateman. And then I looked him up, and this guy is an early day 2 pick. Landing spot could be great. Look at these prices. $15 for a Bowman University rookie auto refractor non-serial number. That's great when you compare it to the rest of the day 1 and day 2 wide receivers.
Interesting. One thing I like, you kind of have the Drake May effect here, Andy, with his Bowman first being in the year that he was drafted. So that helps you with the supply side thing when it comes to scarcity. I like Kyle Williams. I'm with you on that. Andy, there's some people smarter than me that have him as their wide receiver 2, behind only Territory and McMillan. So, yeah, I'm with you. Kyle Williams, $15. I really didn't even think about him. And look, Washington State, there will be a lot of Washington State cards sold on draft night with Cam Ward and Kyle Williams. There you go. Mark D, all right, so he just did this experiment. He went with SGC for an order. A Daniels SGC 10 going for $70 and a PSA 10 going for $150.
Well, what we've got to look at is what like my question is, why did you not go with CGC? You know,
why did CGC go more for SGC? I really only look at PSA now, even though I like the CSG and SGC slabs.
It from what I've seen, from all the entries that I can find, it absolutely goes for more. Here's a $76 back on March 7th. So he said, yeah, okay, so there you go, $70 and a PSA 10 for $150. I think you'll at least be able to get $100 for the CGC. It's going to be somewhere in the middle. It's not going to be, exactly the same. But in a buy it now situation, I think it's going to go somewhere between that SGC and that and the PSA 10.
Let's go to LeVar Ball. I'm sorry, LeVar, that you do not you only have 1 foot now, but I'm still a fan of your the way your kids play ball. I don't care how quick SGC is. Resale val is simply brutal on anything other than PSA. It's just the truth. As sad as that sounds, and that's not good. It's just not good.
Yeah, it plays into the monopoly, side of things, and this competition in the free market is good. It's just a lot of brand loyalty there, Carter. A lot of brand loyalty.
And look, I'll share this story. My dad was a PSA grader, like bulk build full set submissions over a decade ago. I mean, thousands of submissions to PSA. And I owe a lot to PSA. Like I would go to their banquets and stuff like that. Most of my personal slabs are PSA slabs. But man, it's just ridiculous. Like the balance, right? I would like even one company. I have no allegiances monetarily to any of them. But there's a lot of people that do this, Andy. Jim H, buy SGC, crack, and submit to PSA.
I know you saw that guy. I know you saw that guy that cracked the Michael Jordan Beckett with the butcher knife. That was absolutely insane.
Yeah. So for those that didn't see it, Shine 150. God, dude, that I don't even want to talk about it because it's basketball, and you've got to be worth millions to do what he did. He took a butcher knife to a BGS slab and then decided to send it into PSA, and it auto tinned and it graded tin.
I mean, it was smooth the way he cracked it. I mean, he just hit it right on top with it standing up, and it like perfectly busted it in half. So it's like I'm tempted to try it now, but no way I'm trying it on a multi-$1,000 card.
Look, I could pull it up real quick. Let's see.
Fun watch if you haven't seen it. That's for sure.
All right, yeah. Well, we got to now. I'm sharing.
You got it?
I'm sharing screen. Yeah, I'm quick with it, buddy.
I'm glad PSA has been good to Dominic. They've been pretty good to me. I saw somebody post a 40% hit rate on Raw to PSA 10. That's not bad. Like if you got a coin flip, that's not bad. 50% tens. I mean, it's really not bad. Especially if you're doing bulk.
Yeah, I still can't believe this guy did that. I honestly still can't believe it. That card is double my net worth as is. Actually, more than that.
That was it.
That was it, dude.
So it was like a quarter swing.
Bro.
And it tend, right? It tend on both. I mean,
yes.
Yeah.
After doing that, there's a longer video where he actually slides the card out, like very nonchalantly. And then after that, it not just 10, it 10-10.
Now, did because he's got a big account. Did he save that video until after he got the PSA card back to post it? I wonder if PSA like watches that, or any if they're graders watch.
Yeah, I mean they know that guy by name, but
I know they're not allowed to sell cards. Like that's a part of their agreement when you become a grader. You're not allowed to sell cards anymore at that point.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, at least at CGC, that's the case.
This collection is just, I mean, that just makes no sense. This collection, bro, it just makes no sense. It makes me mad. It makes me mad at life.
What his football card collection is like.
Well, he was the one. So he was the one that bought the Joe Burrow RPA for $1 million. 1-1 Joe Burrow. It would be on here somewhere deep down.
Let's go with Dominic.
He's the biggest Burrow, and let me see. There it is, right there. He bought that for $1 million.
Holy cow, man! In 101 National Treasure Shield. So, can you imagine ripping that out of a box? I mean, you won the lotto.
Actually, 1.7 million. My bad.
Would you sell that for $1 million, Carter, or would you hold it?
Oh, come on, Andy! Please don't be stupid. Don't be stupid.
You would sell it, wouldn't you?
I mean, I think
you're married now, man. You're married.
I think
there might be some influence there.
I would be mad at you. Would need to be like that guy to not sell it. Like, for instance, I was able to speak to a man that owns a private jet yesterday, and I didn't know that I was going to speak to this guy, but he was a viewer of the YouTube channel, and he had some information he wanted to share with me. I didn't know he owned a jet or whatever. And unless you have own a jet money, you should probably sell cards for 1.7 million.
I think that's a good.
I would, if you had a card that was $1.7 million and you didn't sell it, I would fly to Tampa and steal it from you, rob you, and sell it, and then give you $1 million of it, minimum.
Fair enough. So. Yeah, I would sell it too. So if you got that right and you take care of everything for the family, pay off all your bills, you're good, you're set. In terms of investing back into the football card market, let's say you took $100,000, where would you put that?
Oh yeah. So this was our pre-show prep. Where would I put my money? So we're just focusing mostly in on players. So of the $100,000. It would be at least 25 to 30,000 of it would be on Jaden Daniels. At least 25 to 30,000 if we're just talking football cards. And then the next 20,000 would be building the nastiest game use patch collection of the legendary QBs of my favorite players and all of that. And then the rest would be spread amongst. If we're just talking purely investment standpoint, I'd buy a lot of Drake May. I would. I'm a big Drake May believer.
Well, he's definitely have value compared to Jaden. So when you're buying Jaden, are you going directly to the Silver Prism, or are you more interested in his autos? He probably has no game worn patches out there. So that
Yeah.
that portion of his market is sadly eliminated, which I really, really hope somebody brings back in the future.
I think it will be next year, Andy. For you wrestling fans out there, WrestleMania will have some game worn patches, and those are going to go for a lot.
Interesting.
I'm not a wrestling guy, but if it's worn at WrestleMania, that is a true 1 of 1 because WrestleMania is one thing, right? I do think they'll eventually get to doing NFL debuts and
yeah, I mean, look, they could use the so if they're getting WrestleMania, it's likely going to be a Speedo of some kind from one of these guys. I mean, they could get a jock strap from Jaden, right? I mean, he probably gets a fresh one each game, to get the jock strap patch card. You've seen the Odell Beckham Magnum patch card, right? I don't know if somebody custom made that or if that was manufactured, but I remember seeing it in a slab. I think it was on Lameem James or something. But there was a guy that brought that card up to him at a show to get him to sign it.
It was a Magnum, like a Magnum wrapper?
It was the Magnum wrapper with the Magnum condom inside of it, in the card, in the Odell Beckham Jr. card.
I need to see this card because I've got to own it. I did. I've got to own this auto. If you want to talk about rarity.
It's very rare. I'm surprised you haven't seen that.
Yeah, well, there you go. That's a good way to end. I personally will be in the Discord chatting with some of our beautiful patrons. So we'll see you soon. Patreon.com/footballcards. His name is Andy. My name is Carter. And we'll talk to y'all next week.
Peace. Appreciate y'all. Peace.